Welcome back to the Night Shift, your safe space. We're talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI, disclosure, and anything else your friends, family, and coworkers are sick and tired of hearing about. We're less of a podcast, less of a YouTube channel, more of a support group for wayward UFO nerds. It's great to have you here on this Saturday, October 5th. It's 2:04 p.m. on the East Coast, but it's nighttime somewhere. Hopefully nighttime where you are. I adjusted my camera angle so my head's cut off. This is OG, this is Asteroids Atari. Kids don't know about this, but one of the many cool things on my desk. Welcome back, everybody. We had to move the stream from yesterday to today. Excuse me. It was a little bit crazy yesterday. Thanks for understanding. Let's see who we got in the chat. I'll explain what happened. Let's see. Let me get my ducks in a row. Who do we have here? Johnny J's here. Alminius is here. Sage Sleuth, hi. Jesse's here. Samantha C. Chris Hovard, of course. All right. Welcome, everybody in the chat. Shout out to our mods, Chris and Brett. Of course, some updates. Yesterday, the sink in my kitchen went from dripping. Let me back up. I was just talking to Xander about this. We're both dads of young children. And all the other parents out there, I'm sure you know, you just have to give up a lot of free time and you just have to kind of roll with it sometimes. And having a little one takes so much of my attention that I had this leaky faucet in the kitchen and I let it go. And I was like, if I just twist it hard enough, it'll stop leaking. And then eventually it got to the point where it wouldn't stop leaking and it just kept leaking. And I was like, I'll just live with it. I just don't have time to deal with it. And finally got to a point where I had to deal with it. And I went to fix this. I had to replace the little cartridge in the sink. And when I did it, I broke the faucet. So that became, let's replace the whole faucet, which turned into, let's break the garbage disposal, which broke off in my hand. I'm covered in dirt. I'm like goo, slime, sink slime. And it was a total mess. So we wound up calling a plumber. And in the end, everything sorted itself out. Sometimes you have to know when to fold them. And that's what happened yesterday. So we pushed the stream back a little bit. Let me know what you guys think about Saturdays. Maybe we'll start doing a Saturday thing. I don't know. Channel is about to break 16,000 subscribers. Go team. We've done it. When we started this channel, we had just a few hundred people. And then I remember when we got to 2,000, I thought, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And then we got to 5,000. Then we got to 10. A couple weeks ago, I was like, oh my God, we're at 13, then 14. Now we're at 15,951 as of right now. I'd love to see us break 16,000 by the end of the show today. That would be so great. If you're not already a subscriber, hit the button. Do me a favor. Just hit the button. It's super easy. Doesn't cost anything. It only takes a second. And you get to come hang out with us. It's a cool group. We've got some great people here. We're going to have some fun conversations. We're talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI, AI, all of it. Got some cool stuff to talk about today. I want to give a quick shout out to our new members. We got some new members. Let me pull up my members list here. Where are we? Susita NM, welcome back. Trinimac, Jesse Nez, welcome. Robert Carroll, Jazzwinder, Heather, Kyle, Backstabbeth, welcome aboard. Got a bunch of new members. Thank you guys for being members of the channel and supporting us. You guys are the heart of Team Night Shift. You make it possible for us to do this. Got a great show today. We're going to talk about a few upcoming movies, documentaries. We'll do some weird stories and some comments from you guys. I just want to throw this out there in the beginning of the show so you can start thinking about it now. Where's everybody at on the alien or non-human intelligence origin? hypothesis. Are you guys thinking this is a interdimensional thing? Are we talking about extraterrestrials from another planet? Are we talking about something else closer to home? Maybe a progenitor civilization? I'd like to know, where are you guys at on this? Because I'm starting to come around to this idea that we may actually just be in a simulation. And we're going to talk about that today a little bit. But the more I see, the more I'm convinced that this is just one big simulation and we're all in it together. Maybe some of these intelligences have a way of bouncing between levels. I don't know. I'm joined by Xander Jones, my co-pilot today.
What's up, YouTube?
Say hi, man.
Hey, cheers,
Xander.
everyone. Happy Saturday.
Xander's the guy responsible for all the awesome music that you hear now. And everybody keeps asking, I get asked Xander like a dozen times a day now, like, what's up with that music? Where can I get it?
You can't get anywhere. It's strictly exclusive to Night Shift for the time being.
I think that might one day, you might revisit that, right? That's a classified.
My heart is yours. My heart is yours, man. All my music belongs to you.
No, but didn't you say you're working on more, right? You got some other things in the works.
So yeah, I'm the same as you. I've had a lot of people ask me where they can get the music. It's not available yet. That is the short answer. But it's coming. At the end of the day, I wouldn't want to make one song available and then another song available. Like, if we're gonna do it properly, let's do it properly. So there'll probably be an album drop at some point.
You heard it here first.
It'll just go on all the DSPs, on Spotify, Apple, all of that. And we might do something cool with, I don't know, me and Clint are both arguing vinyl or tape.
I like vinyl and tape.
And, yeah, well, I think tape, purely because everyone does vinyl. But yeah, I'm sure everyone will want both. So
I'm waiting for compact discs to make their big comeback.
That would make things very easy because I know what they are and I've used them. Tape, I've never really recorded to before. I've never recorded to vinyl. So,
as a musician and as somebody who works in the music business, do you notice do you ever listen to CDs now? Like these days, do you ever do it?
No, I don't have a CD player. No.
Okay, like my folks at their place have the old CD player that I had when I was a kid. It's like this. It's the kind that had 101 discs that you could put in like a turntable, like a jukebox, but with CDs in it. And I put some of my old CDs in there and played it the other day in the barn at my parents' house, and it was so good. The sound was so exceptionally good. I was like, I'm getting robbed. Like, all my other sounds like shit. All my digital music sounds awful compared to CDs, and I forgot how good they sound.
So my first car, I had a Volkswagen Golf, and I think it was a 99, and it had a tape deck. But at the time, MP3 players existed when I had this. By the time I got the car, it was a good 6-7 years old. But it still had a tape player, but MP3 players existed. So somebody had invented this tape that you would put in the tape deck, but a wire would be sticking out from the tape deck that you plug into your MP3 player. And I literally miss that sometimes.
I had that thing.
I don't own any CDs, though. I don't own a CD in this house anymore.
There's just something about it. I think there's something about having the album, especially with vinyl. Like, you get this big, beautiful piece of art. There's like notes inside. It's like you're getting a book. There's just so much more to it. I miss that. Something about it. But yeah, I wanted to take a second and just say, as the channel has grown, this is just for everybody watching this. We've grown a lot in the last month. We've had over 3,000 people come on board in just the last 28 days. It's been almost 4,000 people just in the last 30 days. And that's been really remarkable. And I was talking to Cole Watkins earlier this morning, and he's our graphic designer. He created the Night Shift logo. If you go to our website, teamnightshift.com, and you click on, and you look at any of our logos, that's all Cole Watkins. If you go to merch and click on that link and scroll down, you can look at all of the shirt designs, all that stuff. That's all Cole. And he was telling me today, he's like, man, your channel is almost at 16,000 subscribers. That's like having an arena full of people, a small arena, but a big room, however you want to think about it. And I was like, man, that's right. It's an enormous group. And we've done that in about a year. And I just wanted to say, I couldn't have done it without the people who have come out of the woodwork to help. And Cole, you are one of those people. You contacted me and said, "Hey, man, I really love your show. I'm a designer. How can I help out?" And you created this awesome logo and gave us this great look. And so I can't thank you enough. It's been awesome working together. And Xander, you're another one of those people. You came on board and reached out and said, "Hey, man, I want to help." And I'm just like very thrilled to be surrounded by such talented people. It's great to have everybody in this group. Of course, we've got Chris Hovord and Brett running our Discord server, handling all the social stuff, creating a great community over on the Discord. If you aren't in the Discord community yet and you want to be, again, go to Team Night Shift. You can click the link there. There's a link that just says Discord. It'll open up the Discord server and take you right there. You can get involved. Chris and Brett are kind of running the show over there, making sure everybody has a great time. We've got remote viewing challenges. We've got some really excellent discussions, great conversations, just expanding the scope of the channel over there. So go there, get involved. Perplexed is a new member. Welcome aboard, Perplexed. Thank you for being here. And maybe Chris, you beat me to it. Chris Over just threw the Discord link into the chat. So if you guys are in the chat and you see that, you can click it there too. It's also in the show notes for this episode. All right, what else is on the list? 16K subs. Hopefully by the end of the day, we'll be there. Let's see. Discord, Reddit, we did all that. Cool. All right. So there's a new documentary that I want to talk about, and there's a couple of trailers I wanted to get into today, but I guess we should probably start with the live stream from Vetted. What do you think, Xander? You want to go there first and talk about the James Webb Space Telescope and the object?
The recap.
The recap.
On the recap.
Well, for those of you who've been following this, you already know. If you haven't been following this, Vetted and Night Shift are kind of like Coke and Pepsi. We sort of, I don't know, we just sort of overlap a lot. There's a lot of camaraderie between our two communities. And every couple of weeks, I'm so focused on what we're doing here at Night Shift that I kind of, sometimes I miss stuff that's going on Patrick's channel. But every few weeks, he breaks the internet. And then I find out later, I'm like looking around, I'm like, oh my God, what's happened? But this most recent episode, I guess the one that was prior to that was talking about the James Webb Space Telescope and the biosignatures and the potential object sighted coming towards Earth. And that just took off and became a whole viral thing. So we came back and we talked about it again Thursday with Simon Holland, Dr. Dan, Patrick. And we're just trying to sort it all out and figure out what's going on. I don't know. Xander, what do you think? Have you seen that all the way through yet?
Yeah. I was peeling wallpaper and sanding it down and painting whilst I was listening to it. You know, what was interesting about the second time around is Simon, and I love Simon. I've known about his channel for a long years. After all of the wake of the last video that went viral, particularly on TikTok, he didn't back away, which is what was great. Like he stuck to his guns and he was like, no, I'm not BSing here. Like, I have friends, they've been saying that they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket, but you know, I got the impression they were more convinced than ever that they really have, in a conventional way, discovered life.
Do you think that there's going to be, like, what's your sense? Do you, just overall of the space right now, do you get the sense that something, some kind of announcement, whether that's it or not, do you think something is imminent?
I would almost be sad if the announcement was, we've discovered life and it's, I don't know, 10,000 light years away. Because, you know, let's be honest, we're conspiracy theorists. We don't think they're 10,000 light years away. We think they're here. So realistically, I think if an announcement came from Oxford University, like Simon says it would, I think the Sun would pick it up. The BBC would probably run it as a story, but the vast majority of people probably wouldn't care because it's inconsequential. Something like, I don't think governments would change anything if it was discovered that there was some sort of life a few light years away. We're here because we think they're already here. We're here because we think we've got craft. We think we've reverse engineered it. We think our government knows more than what they say. Well, not necessarily the government, I guess. People within the government and private industry. We're here for that rather than, potential microbial life 10,000 light years away. I'm not excited by that compared to, Bob Lazar's story.
Right. They're kind of two completely different categories of news, right? But on the one hand, you could say that maybe announcing discovery of life on a distant planet is a step one to like warm people up, to the notion that there could be something more already here.
Yeah, or it could be, they're such different announcements that are they even related in any way? Like would the let's just call it Majestic 12 for the sake of argument. They're the guys apparently in the know. Would the announcement from Oxford receive any sort of consultation? Probably not. From Maj 12. I think I've got some buzzing going on my end.
You got a UAP above your house right now. You're about to be abducted.
Yeah, I think the announcements would be completely different. It's different to a UFO landing on the White House lawn. It's people would go and pay their taxes. They would go down to their gas station and pay way too much for gas, and nothing would change. That would be the very sad thing, because the reality of them already being here is that they got here somehow, and the reality of them getting here within a reasonable time frame is that they got here using unconventional means, manipulating gravity, manipulating time, manipulating dimensions, and that's the life changer more than anything, I think.
Do you find let me ask you this.
I feel like a guest, Clint. I'm sorry.
You are a guest.
I'm talking far too much.
No, you are a guest. By the way, like, not only is Xander the musician behind the sound of Night Shift, but he's also an experiencer. You had an experience. You've got you're like heavily invested into this.
I've been in it since the days of AboveTopSecret.com.
Wow.
Yeah. And Bob Lazar was my first guy. He got me into it. He's the OG for me. But yeah, when I was, how old was I? Probably 4 or 5. All I did, I lived at the time in Derbyshire in the UK, and it's a bit of a hot spot, but I saw something clear as day. It was about dusk in the evening, but it was probably a few hundred meters away, silent, hovering, disc-shaped. And I saw it with my brother as well. But, I was 4 or 5. I can't trust my own memories from that long ago. But that kicked it all off. I've been obsessed since then.
What's the most interesting aspect of all this for you? Like, do you think that... what is it? Like, where is your focus? When you look at this whole space, where do you really lock in? Is it the aliens? Is it the beings? Is it the craft? Is it the stories? Is it abductions? Is there one aspect of this that seems more interesting to you, or is it just the whole prospect that this is real of all the things?
For me, it feels like everyone's right and wrong at the same time. So you've got Bob, you've got Dr. Greer, you've got Lou Elizondo. It's probably really naive of me to say, but I don't think any of them are lying. I think they all believe what they say, at least. And maybe sometimes they embellish. I don't know, but
I don't get that sense though.
No,
I really don't.
Do I?
I think there's like either on the one hand, either it's true, right? Like you have to think either some percentage of what all of these people are saying is true. So let's just say it's like 1% or 5%, like a really small. In order for any of it to be relevant, like that has to include like the aliens are real and they're here. Right, like nothing else. There's no other conversation to have unless those two things are true first.
For me, it seems the more into the realm of consciousness and things that we get, it for me, it feels like you're more likely to be wrong purely because when you're talking about telepathy and things like that, you're talking about you're imagining things at the end of the day. They're in your head. So like if Greer is right, maybe he's right 80% of the time, and the other 20% he's just mistaking himself. You know, he really does. He believes he has conversations with beings from Andromeda.
Okay, so let's unpack that for a second, because I know you and I have talked about Greer in one-on-one, but I know the audience also. We've had a lot of like audience discussion around Greer versus Lou, and is that a real thing, or let's just start with Greer. Where are you at with Stephen Greer in general? Is he for real? Is he a scammer? Is he a grifter? Is he legit? Do we have him pegged all wrong? Like what you know the rumors. Mm-hmm. Where are you at with all this?
I'd put myself out on the limb and say he's the real deal. I don't think you get to talk to the people he's talked to without some real hard evidence to support it.
Okay.
And you know, I do think some of this connects to consciousness in some way. He really can make it seem more theatrical. There was that, I can't remember specifically which movie it was. I've enjoyed all of his movies, but there was one where he described somebody astral projecting and hitting a spacecraft, and I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot to believe right there.
Yeah, I feel like I with Greer, he was the guy who originally got me into this. Well, there was Bob Lazar had come across my radar screen, but when Bob Lazar hit the scene, I was like 9. So I didn't really have the same appreciation. But over the next decade, as like we got into the 90s, Stephen Greer started to appear more and more, and he was doing more things. And then he did this big press club event where it was the original Disclosure Project, and that was where I stopped.
Game changer. It was a game changer.
It's like, holy shit, there's like 36 people, and they're all...
You have an ex-NASA employee there saying she's seen photoshopped pictures of the moon and bases on the moon. She worked there. Like,
that's the other thing.
Got picked up.
And the NASA thing, you've got her, which her name escapes me right now. If anybody can remember, she's the one who worked in the photography, or she saw them in the photo department, photoshopping out or airbrushing, I guess at the time. Buildings, right? Wasn't it buildings? Or
yeah, it was buildings. Yeah.
Crafted. And then you've got the hacker. What's his name?
Yeah. Oh,
McKinnon.
Yeah,
Gary McKinnon.
Gary McKinnon. Yeah.
Same thing. Hacked into NASA and found all these things. Stephen Greer produces,
and it's not like they gave him a slap on the wrist. That guy did not receive a slap on the wrist. That guy got prosecuted pretty hard for that.
They didn't. They wanted to be able to do what they did to like Edward Snowden or Julian Assange. Like that's how hard they wanted to go at him, but they just didn't have the legal, like the laws weren't written that way at the time for that to happen. And I remember though, early 2000s, Stephen Greer had so many whistleblowers coming forward at one time that it was just impossible to miss if you were following UFOs at all. And then,
and now he's dumping everything online as well. He's dumping so much information online.
He's got all this stuff online, but then you go and so the flare rumor started, and then everybody was talking about, oh well, he got caught scamming people, and he was dropping flares out of aircraft, and I didn't believe it. At first I was like, that just sounds like what you would say if you wanted to shut somebody down. But then I looked at the story that they did on that, and they show the video. They link to it. It's still up on his YouTube page, and it's 100% flares coming. There's no way those are you. You saw this video, right? Have you seen this?
It wasn't that long ago that I tried to look for like who said it was flares, basically.
Yeah.
And the best result I could find was that it was still a contested thought. I have seen one video. I think it was from the one that his movie all about CE5, basically, not the energy one, the one before that, where there was that one video of a CE5 event where they're on the horizon and they really do look like flares. I thought that was the video that everyone was probably talking about.
This is here. I'll pull this up. Let me pull this up and I'll share it. I have it right here. This is the video.
Is it YouTube?
It's going to be YouTube, but it's right now. It's let me just share my screen here and I'll show you.
Right.
Hang on. This is going to be a Washington. What is this? Close. This is a Washington Examiner article. Share. So this is the article. Washington Examiner. Tom Rogan. And they basically, in this article, he says that during the time that this event took place in February of 2015, they were able to look at the flight logs or flight records, and they found an aircraft from a rented aircraft that was flying exactly where these flares are shown, and at the exact time, the window of like 5 minutes where this is happening. And so I'll play the video, and you can be your own judge. But
so what I'd like to discuss now is
this is the one from the movie. 100%.
Of the consciousness.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to the beach part. Okay, so wait, this camera, Sony.
For remote viewing and doing the coherent thought sequencing.
Okay, Sony A7S camera, aperture 4.0, ISO 102,000. That's pretty high. FE 470 to 200 GOSS, stabilized lens. This is a good camera. They're on the beach. The idea is that they're doing a CE5 event. These people have paid to be at this event. They paid, I think it's $1,000 or $2,000 to go to this thing. It's up there. It's north of $1,000 to go. They go to now. As I understand it, they have a briefing beforehand, and they discuss what's going to happen. Then they go out to this location, and then they do a meditation practice with the goal of summoning orbs or UAPs. And this is what they see when they get there. Now, mind you, they have night vision goggles. Like some people in the group have night vision. But listen to what Stephen Greer says to these people.
Clear understanding of it.
Okay, here we go.
Before we do the puja, what is that orange object? Look how beautiful.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Whoa,
Film
just
it.
don't pop
stand
too
up,
much.
please. Crouch down and look, because you'll block our cameras.
Wow.
Those behind me may move and stand up, because. Okay, you see that color?
Yeah. That's not a plane.
No. Oh no.
That's not a boat.
All right, that's the first one.
That's a
So let's
ship.
thank them for coming.
Wow, and it's above the sea
Please
level.
turn off your night scope, Charles. Off.
Some other light comes
Okay.
off now.
Someone's infrared or whatever.
Yeah, that's Charles.
Come on, Charles.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, here they come. There are two.
Whoever's right in the front, if you can kind of just stay low, because your
Stay low.
head is right.
You can get on your knees in front
Yeah.
of Richie. Look at this, how gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I'm looking with the night scopes. There's no smoke, there's no trails. These are not flares. And
I'm looking with the night
Oh
scope.
my goodness.
What about George? Where's George's night scope? I want George to second that. Like, let's see what he has to say first.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
they were waiting for us to arrive.
Whoa.
Jacques, please photograph. All cameras should be filming. So connect to them in your consciousness and invite them here.
But look, you
These
can see
are
them drifting down, and then they just land on the
ones I
water.
covered.
Watch this.
See how gold?
Oh, it's so
Because
cool.
the horizon is only 7 to 10 miles, depending on the conditions. So it's probably a couple miles. Everybody see
Wow.
them?
And
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Let's welcome their
God, this is so
beings
bad.
on board to join us in meditation. That is such a beautiful color, so you'll never forget that color.
what, orange?
Yeah, this is a major event. So we are grateful. So open your heart chakra and send them the beauty of humanity. And if you can see what I'm doing, you connect with your palms out like this, and your third eye and your heart, making like a tetrahedron radiating our pureness and love towards them.
I'm sorry, like this is hard.
They emerge from the sky, but they're very, very close to the ocean. They're just hovering. They're not.
Whoever's just right in front of the yellow kind of blue jacket, your head's.
That me?
No, yeah, you just kind of went to go down. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna move.
We should be filming.
I am filming, but just trying to avoid.
You
Those in
feel the
front,
tension
you can
there?
Get on your knees or sit on the ground and look in front of your chairs, but stay low. Thank you.
And this other one, the first one's going to drop in the water any second and go out. There it goes.
Just gonna reposition.
You need a
And then the
higher
second one,
No, I
like
can
2
bring it
minutes,
high.
or not even a
price.
minute
Don't
later.
wait, or you're going to lose it. Just
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
keep
yeah.
with it. There's no time for that.
Anyway, that's a minute and a half of it. You get the idea. What do you think?
So now I'm interested with that in mind, because I mean, before we watched this video, you said there were elements where he could seem legit at times. How do you watch that and then reconcile the idea that he's not BSing?
I just think that you can be both, right? You can have accurate information and you can also have a really good hustle. Like that's okay. Like that's not okay if you're hustling people, but that's reasonable. If you're getting a group of, 10, 12, 15 people to drop $2,000 a head to come out and hang out for 3 days, you're getting 30 grand for 3 days. And 30 grand, you get to pay a camera guy like $20 an hour to come out and shoot video. You can rent a plane for $150 an hour. You can pay a pilot, that they'll fly over and throw a couple flares out the back. And you can make 30 grand. You can make, by the end of it, let's say you pay for the hotel and everything at 20 grand, 25 grand. In 3 days, that's a pretty good hustle. I'm not saying I know it for sure, but I'm saying those look like flares that came out of the back of an airplane to me. Like somebody just dropped them out the window. And if I would ask this: if you paid $2,000 and you walked out on a public beach and somebody pointed to the horizon and that's what you saw and that cost $2,000, how would you feel?
See, I think you have to, in this instance, you would have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because the truth that Greer is attesting to is so profound that he is effectively talking about universal consciousness. He's talking about communicating with beings across the universe. Somebody that knows that truth to be 100% certain would not drop flares to make money, because it's inconsequential. To do something like that would be, it would be against it would be against the truth that he would say he knows, that the truth that life is this big universal consciousness. Oh, and by the way, I still need to pay rent. I'm going to drop some flares. I can't personally reconcile those two things. Personally, I can't. But I can see, and this is why we need to talk to him. Because I can watch that video and say, yeah, they look like flares. They do. They do look like flares. And I'd like to know what Greer's response would be to that. It's just a candid question. Sometimes
we
UFOs
know,
can look like flares. Who knows?
But the 5 observables are there for a reason, right? Like that's where I like where Lou comes at this from a very data driven. Like here are the observables that you can look for, and you can just go down the list. And if you check off these 5 observables, then what you just saw was most likely non-human. And I think that's really basic, straightforward, common sense.
And that's
they don't move. They only move
to be in.
from up. They move from high altitude to low altitude, and then they just go out. If they were really UAP, they would zip around. When you see these videos of actual UAP, they look real. Like you cannot fake that. There's no way. I don't know.
But then you have Lou talking about having his family being tormented by orbs. It's so hard to reconcile all of this stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That you really just, if you're going to believe any of it, you might as well believe all of it. Sometimes UFOs might want to look like flares for some reason. Sometimes maybe Greer mistook those for flares. I don't know. Maybe he paid for a flight to drop some flares. I just think when he told George to turn off his night vision, that told me what I needed to know.
George, turn off your night vision. 10 seconds later. Okay, I'm looking through my night vision. Trust me, there's no flares. There's no airplane. I see it. Get the fuck out of here. Come on,
and then
man.
you have
Come
fact
on.
that he may have duped high levels of government at the same time, because he did have conversations with Admiral Wilson. That happened.
Are we sure that happened?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure it happened.
Through sources.
I think recently the Wilson memos were pretty much confirmed, were they not?
I don't know. See, here's the thing. Like, you have to take Greer at his word on most things. Like, he's like, I briefed 6 people on my way to the bathroom, and 2 of them were former directors of the Central Intelligence Agency. I briefed 5 presidents. I briefed all these. I just walked out of a briefing. He's always got a briefing. He's on his way to a briefing, or he's coming from a briefing. He's just briefed some people, and it's like,
You
okay,
touched
well,
on this in the video on Vetted the other day. What does a briefing really mean? Yeah.
it could mean anything. And then, like, where are the people? I don't know. All right, so there's that on the one hand. On the other hand, he has brought forward whistleblowers.
And he's done some great work at the
He's
same
brought
time.
a lot of whistleblowers forward. So you have to say, well, yeah, I'm with you. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I also think, like, this community is delicate and it's easy to mess with. You have a lot of people who have been gaslit. This whole community's been gaslit for 70 years. They come in and they say, oh, it was just swamp gas, or it was this, or it was some other thing, or you didn't see what you thought you saw, or you're crazy, or whatever. And into that, it's really easy for people to, a person who is greedy or wants to manipulate that, to do it. And I don't think they're not mutually exclusive. Like, you can still make a meaningful contribution and also do things that are not ethically okay. Those two things can happen together.
I think, realistically, I think Greer would genuinely, because he's really polarizing in the community. So a lot of people really don't like him, and I'm
just playing it with mute on, so while we talk,
I would say he really needs to go somewhere and answer some hard questions. Just accept that some things might be a little insulting to him. If he really knows the truth, and those aren't flares, like, maybe it's a bit of an insult to say, are those flares? But maybe he just needs to go, they're not flares. and people can believe him or not believe him. That's fine. But I feel
like that's where we're at with all of this. Like, yeah, you have to either take it or leave it.
Yeah. I'm still in Camp Greer on some level. The good outweighs the bad. It seems to be so far that the good outweighs the bad. But then you've got, this is like a whole other podcast, is the whole free energy, 0 point energy stuff that we're yet to see the fruits of. And
well, I think that is actually probably the close. Where I think Greer is right is, and I do agree with him, is that the military-industrial complex has been sitting on tremendous technology that could put us a century ahead of where we are, at least, easily. I just got a thing from a friend of mine who works at New Paradigm Institute, and he sent me this text. Let me see if I can find it. It was from... here it is. Armed Services Patent Advisory Board, ASPAB, Patent Security Category Review List. So in this list, January 1971, this is the first edition of an ASPAB composite category review list of categories of inventions that should be made available in accordance with 35 USC 181. So this is basically, they're looking at patents that they will come in and like grab up and snatch up. And anything, they list in here, item number 8, solar photovoltaic generators of 20%, greater than 20% efficiency. This is 1971. They're talking about 20% efficiency solar panels. Energy conversion systems with a conversion efficiency in excess of 70 to 80%. And I see this stuff and I think Greer's been talking about that forever. If we've got reverse engineered technology, the energy thing would be probably one of the most important ones to crack. And these crafts seem to require like unlimited energy to do the things that they do. if they're pulling it from the 0 point, maybe they don't even have to generate the power. Maybe they just have to like grab it. It's already there, and they can just dip into it as much as they need for some of these.
Wasn't it Doty that Richard Doty that said that it basically pulls the amount that it requires, that the energy source requires?
That sounds right. That sounds, so much of this is, I don't know if it's true, but it sounds true. I feel like that's where I live now. It's kind of, Amy Mann Mitchell says, flares or not, Greer has contributed a lot to disclosure. Have we found the pilots who dropped the flares? Well, they found in that article, they found the aircraft that was flying right where they were looking at that exact moment. They've got the radar recordings of it, and they know where it is, the transponder, and they know the person who owns the craft, and it was a rented aircraft. So I think that's pretty open and shut for me. I how much more do you really need to know? Katkin says, it is possible that Greer is genuine, but feels that he always needs a show from the NHI to justify the money he charges. However, he doesn't do his credibility any good when he fakes it. Yeah, I mean, this is what people mean when they say grifter. This is what they're talking about. Like, if there's, however, let's play devil's advocate.
There's always the however. This is the problem.
If you are a person with a skill set and you want to charge money to other people to come out and like take benefit in your skill set, whatever that is, or take part in it, and your skill set is, I claim to summon UFOs or UAPs, and people want to pay that, that's on them. I can't really. I just I wouldn't do it. I'd be standing on the beach with my $2,000 lighter, and I'm like, you must be looking around at other people who just went to the beach for a walk, and they're seeing the same shit that you're seeing. I'd be like, what are you doing? I want my money back. I'll just come out here by myself.
I think the hardest part of that to deal with for me is that the real truth that Greer attests to is too big. It's too profound. Anybody that truly knows, but then again, anybody that truly knows something that profound, would they really? And this maybe blacklists us from ever getting to talk to him, but would they ever charge $1,000 to go and see some lights in the sky if they really knew that what they were looking at was NHI that they've communicated with telepathically over light years to make them travel interdimensionally to the beach in Florida?
I just don't know if that's like how it would work. Like, why would they give a shit what one person meditating on a beach in Florida has to meditate about? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just to come here and show up, like, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but I just feel like what I do believe is that you can meditate and you can have contact, but I don't think they're going to bring a craft to you necessarily. I think if a craft shows up for you, you're in trouble, and it's bad. I don't think it's a good thing at all. I think you're going on that craft whether you like it or not, and they're taking you someplace that you probably don't want to go. But I don't know that now I do believe that you can summon orbs. I do believe people have seen orbs all the time. I think that's a real thing. I just think there's a distinction between a physical craft. Like when Bob Lazar would take John Lear and people out into the desert to look at craft, they were seeing real craft. They were seeing physical craft. And they have that on tape. Orbs, Chris Bledsoe, you look at his Instagram and he's got videos of orbs all the time. They look like orbs. That's to me what an orb looks like. He sees them
they're part
daily.
Of the same phenomenon? Because if we're talking about orbs, they're like, I mean, if an orb fits in a house, it's not a spaceship.
I think my current hypothesis, and I don't know if I've heard two things that I think could be true, and I don't know which one it would be. But I have like two ideas in my head about this. One is projected consciousness takes the form of a sphere outside of the body. If other people do see it, what they're seeing is a sphere. When I was a little kid, I was a baby. My mom saw an orb in our house, and she said she woke up in the middle of the night. There was an orb. It was floating above the foot of the bed. It moved out of the room, went through the door, down the hallway, and into my room where I was sleeping, into my nursery. went into the door, disappeared in the room, and then she walked up. The door was open. It was just like ajar, right? Like you would leave the door to your kids' room. You'd kind of almost close it, but not quite, so you could hear. And she pushed on it, and it wouldn't open. And she pushed on it, and it wouldn't open. She pushed on it, it wouldn't open. And then she like pushed really hard one time, and the door swings open, and everything was fine. But she's seen orbs. I've seen them. I think most people have seen them, probably just didn't know what they were. So my guess is, and then so the other half of that story is that it was my grandmother on my dad's side who passed away the very next, or that night, I believe, or it was either that night or the next day. And so my mom's idea was always like, well, that was your grandmother coming to visit you. You know, that's what that was. And I've always felt very comfortable with that idea. Like consciousness, when it leaves the body, can take the form of an orb if that's what you're seeing. But I've also read things that have said that there are types of drones now that are so far in advance of what we think of when we think of a traditional drone. But these are like a ball of plasma, but it functions like a drone. You can pilot it, you can send it around. It looks like a ball of light, but it's actually a surveillance drone. I don't know. But there is
I don't know either.
There's definitely a consciousness aspect to it. On that note, I actually have a great clip that I wanted to show that I wanted to save for later, but I think I'll just go for it now.
Sure.
This is from James Landoli's YouTube channel, and he runs the excellent podcast YouTube channel, Engaging the Phenomenon. This is on Reddit. And this is a clip from an interview he did with George Knapp. Now, I just want to show you this clip. It's about 4-5 minutes long, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But it's exactly on this topic. Let's see here. Here we go. All right, can you see this?
Collage of different people talking to the issue of the phenomenon in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through, you know, these different words we can use that have baggage, which I don't want to really get into, but maybe even surrogates, right? The phenomenon walking among us. And the 60 Minutes, Robert Bigelow had said, you know, he's laughing. It's like, it's right under everybody's noses. It's like, they're here. They're walking among us. George.
Yeah, I have to agree with him. I don't have any evidence of it, but there are some pretty compelling cases that have come my way. I'm thinking back to Ingo Swann.
Yes. Yeah. Penetration.
You know, of seeing beings that are not us walking around in grocery stores, I think was what Ingo had.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true. I don't know how you document that. If they don't want to be seen, they're not seen. So I'm open to the possibility.
Colin?
Well, I mean, you know, I think everybody has read Nick Redfern's books on these Men in Black and the, you know, the black-eyed kids. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of different lore out there. We, again, with NIDS especially, we had a lot of people coming forward and relaying these kinds of stories to us, but we never looked at it in any meaningful way. You know, the fact that entities or you know, they, quote unquote, they are walking among us doesn't necessarily mean they're visible. I mean, when we were on the when we were on Skinwalker Ranch, there were, I would say, a handful of occasions when I was 100% certain that within 5 feet or maybe 10 feet of me, something was standing there, because I could feel it, I could see it staring, or I could feel it staring at me. And this was not sort of something that happened all the time. And, you know, these were standout occasions for me when something was that I couldn't see was standing very close to me, and, you know, something that smelled. You know, I got odor evidence also that it was not smelling very nicely. But that's an example of something walking among us. It's just that we can't see it, and I would totally support that. There's an awful lot in our environment. A lot of the anecdotal stuff that we gathered at NIDS and in some cases OSAP showed that in the infrared area of the spectrum, that there was a lot of activity that we were not able to see with our visible eye beyond 900 nanometers. I mean, once you go beyond 900 nanometers and you're using infrared technology or night vision technology, you can gather a lot more data. But you know, in terms of walking among us, yes.
There
Yeah,
were
there's
some
a several.
dramatic incidents, James, at the ranch that we talked about in Hunt for the Skinwalker, and also in the follow up, the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, things that happened at the ranch that were in the invisible spectrum that maybe your listeners would remember. The something went up the telephone pole and ripped the hell out of a camera. Did it invisible? It happened, but it did it invisibly. There were cases where the rancher recalls seeing something moving through water, displacing water. It was physical in that sense, but it was invisible. There were times when it would walk through its cattle and disperse the cattle. Something physical that was real that you couldn't see. Scary.
Yeah. Well, and really to tie that back to the UFO thing, I mean, I've seen it on hundreds of occasions, and many hundreds of thousands of people across the world. You know, these UFOs, they seem to come in and out of reality at will, not just shooting off like that's talked about in the Nimitz, but actually dematerializing, rematerializing. This is something, and not even just physical craft, which seem to do that, but orbs, right? And whether that's some kind of organic intelligence, whether that's some kind of technology that's beyond what we can currently understand, you know, there's so many ways to look at it. And I really like how Robert Bigelow put it in your interview with him, George, on Mystery Wire, when he said that there's a physical nuts and bolts presence that people feel kind of safe with, and then there's the presence aspect of it, of they're among us, whether they can have surrogates, and then you get into things like hybrids that people are going to get torn up about, but whether they can interact through people, or that's a whole nother thing.
I just want to say, I just want to say, we were on the hybrid thing first. We were there a year ago. We were talking about that on Night Shift. We were talking about the hybrid breeding program. We were talking about abductions when nobody else was going there. We were on all of this stuff, and I'm so glad to see that it's finally coming back around in the conversation. Xander, what do you make of that clip? Orbs, hybrids, craft.
Sorry, I was muted. I think what I found...
Are they among us?
Yeah. I think of what I've seen, especially in the comments, is that people have highlighted the fact that we only really see a small sliver of reality. Have you heard of Donald Hoffman?
Yes, I love Donald Hoffman.
Okay.
He broke my brain.
Yeah, he's a professional brain breaker.
He's a professional brain buster, that's
so
for sure.
If anybody's watching that hasn't seen Donald Hoffman, I think he's a mathematician, is that right? By trade.
He is a clinical psychologist, I thought he was.
Donald Hoffman?
Hang on a second. Donald?
Maybe we're not thinking of the same person.
The guy who says reality's not real. It's all generated in the mind.
Yeah, maybe I got my facts wrong.
Hang on. Donald Hoffman is an American cognitive psychologist and popular science author. Here, I'll throw it in the... Here's the...
I swear he was trying to do something mathematically to really sort of prove his theory that it actually makes evolutionary sense for us not to see the true reality of everything.
He said in one interview that I thought was really a mind breaker. He goes, if you laid out the full spectrum of electromagnetism, like the electromagnetic spectrum, if you laid it all out and in a line, and the line was as long as the Mississippi River, then the human ability to perceive in that spectrum is about an inch and a half down towards Mississippi, like at the very bottom. Like that's what we can see, and the rest of it is could just be filled with as much life and consciousness as any other aspect of the spectrum that we can perceive. It could just be there hidden from us. And I thought, wow, that is. He said that they can prove this, like that the reality that we think we're experiencing is just almost like a hologram inside your own mind.
Yeah,
is that how you read it?
And he talked about human experience as more of an interface than a connection with truth. So our idea is that we're designed purely to exist and reproduce, and if we knew, if we had to process everything at the same time all the time, that would make it virtually impossible to actually survive, because the computational power to actually interpret everything and make sense of it and act accordingly would just be, there's just no need. It's more efficient to only experience that inch and a half, as you said,
because that's what's relevant to our survival for where we're at.
That's all we need to be able to do what we do. And
I always like that idea that reality is like, there are like thermal layers in the ocean to reality. So there's like a layer that we're in, but there's a layer above us and below us, and there's many layers. It just keeps going, and in each layer there's just separate types of life doing their own thing.
And it's so easy to try to, because Donald Hoffman never really talks about NHI or aliens or anything like that, but it's so easy to connect it all. Maybe that's part of the human condition, but for me, I mean, I'm going to go back to Greer. He talks about people phasing, the NHI phasing in and out of our dimension. Like that, he said, I think in one of the videos he was saying, look, it's barely in our dimension. Like, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? But then you think of Donald Hoffman, it's like, is he talking about? Is that just another part of that Mississippi River line that's decided to sort of just wade into our part of the river momentarily? And it starts in my head, at least, and as I said, this might just be a problem with being a human, is that I'm connecting all of that stuff all the time, and I'm connecting Lou Elizondo's orbs to what Greer experiences. And I've said to you multiple times, I think Elizondo, especially with his book, got way closer to Greer than I ever saw him going. I thought he was pure military threat, potential threat. I don't think that Elizondo thinks they're a threat, personally. But, you know, he was trained to believe and to deal with things in that way, and that's respectable. But I think he touches on stuff that is closer than we think to Greer, to Hoffman, to Bledsoe. So it's hard. I think somewhere, as I said a long time ago, I think it was maybe half an hour ago now, I said everyone is right and everyone is wrong at the same time. And maybe that's a good full circle. I don't know, but it feels like nobody's got it right. And
well, you make a great point, because we are all, like you and me and everybody, we read different things, but you stitch together a story in your mind based on all the different things that you've cobbled together, right? And so we each kind of have a different picture of what we think is going on, but more or less we're looking at the same stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know, I'd be curious to see who else has made the same sort of conclusions. We're all exposed to the same level of information these days. Everyone has access to all of Greer's movies. They're all on his YouTube for free now. Maybe he did that in response to some of the criticism he's had over the years.
I'm with you on don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I would just definitely be pissed if I had paid to be at that event. I know that that also, and those two things can be both true at the same time. What about you? Brian Jackson says, watching your live stream, you are so funny about Greer's video. What about George? I want to talk to George. We need to get George on this show. Ask him what's going on. So on this point, right, like we're talking about Donald Hoffman. For those of you who haven't followed his work, you can go to teamnightshift.com. You can go to the research link. And if you go to recommended viewing, inside there, there's a video interview. There's a link to an interview with Donald Hoffman. He did a TED Talk about 9 years ago that was pretty groundbreaking and kind of laid out in about 30 minutes his whole thesis for kind of where he's at. And his basic premise is that reality isn't what you think it is. Like the real baseline, base level reality is more like a computer simulation than it is a real world. And that space-time and our conception of distance and solidity and all these things are parameters sort of programmed into this, and that we kind of created as we're going, more or less. But there's some kind of baseline reality, and it's not as physical as we would like it to be, at least the way that we were taught. And there's a documentary that just, I saw the trailer for. It just got released on September 30th. So this was a week ago, not even. And it's called The Discovery. And now what's interesting about Hoffman is that it seems to me that he's following in a long line of, a long tradition of esoteric knowledge suggesting that basically the same thing is true, right? That this reality is not what we think it is. There's a deeper, more fundamental base layer reality that's much more like a computer code or a simulation. Terence McKenna talked about it. There's a number of people who are looking into this from different angles right now. But this documentary, The Discovery, I just watched the trailer for it. And I have to say, this is really compelling. And it's about this guy. We'll watch it in a second. But he figured out a way to use DMT and lasers to sort of crack the wall of the simulation and look into it. And I'm not going to try and explain it any more than that. I'm just going to play the trailer. And let's see if I can share this for everybody to see. Here it is.
What's funny is I was about to go into the fact that I know you're a fan of Terence McKenna, that you're a fan of Alan Watts, and again, this is it. We're all connecting the dots, aren't we? We're all bringing those same ideas into the same place, and then this trailer hits.
Well, think about it. Yeah, exactly. And so let's come back to that. Let's pause there. We'll watch the trailer, then we'll come back to it, and then we have. Oh, wait a second. Hang on. We just got a comment. What about the concept of twin Earths and humans? The stew that made us probably happened a zillion times across space-time. Twin Earths and humans. I think one of the most interesting things about abduction stories, when you read enough of them, is how frequently you hear abductees talk about seeing humans on other ships, on other planets, when they're taken from their home and they regress and get their memories back later. They were like, oh yeah, there were 150 humans. And some of them were wearing uniforms, and they weren't American military uniform. They were like some kind of a weird Star Trek thing. I think that's really strange. Maybe there's more humans out there than we think, and maybe Earth is just where some of them are. I don't know about twin Earths. Have you ever heard of this, Xander, this idea of a twin Earth? We can come back to that. All right, let's watch this trailer and then tell me what you think of this. All right, gang, here we go. This is The Discovery. It's about to break your brain. Are you ready for this? We're going to cross UFOs, NHI, DMT, and lasers. All in one. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
I remember things very vividly from a very young age. When I was a little kid, I actually spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My grandfather was a nuclear physicist. I remember he was telling me about black holes, and that terrified me.
I was like, that's just mind-boggling. It's a monster, right?
But at the same time, it fascinated me. And I said to myself, how do we know that? This unthinkably massive thing. I realized that nature doesn't keep secrets. It's only a matter of, do we understand? What tools can we use to expand our knowledge? And for me, dimethyltryptamine also known as DMT, was the tool that led me to the discovery.
When I first saw the phenomenon, I was like, holy shit!
But then it was actually like, whoa, what is happening?
Am I losing my mind? But then I showed other people, and things kept getting weirder.
Just for the record, I haven't told him anything. Okay, just tell me what you see.
Oh my God, come on.
Wow, what the fuck? Holy shit. I just saw something. Yeah. What the fuck?
Oh, I see that. I feel it.
I've been under the influence of mind-altering substances a lot, but I've never seen anything like that. Whoa.
I showed over 100 people, and I kept asking myself, how are all of us seeing the same thing?
Oh my God. It's changing shapes right there.
The laser was revealing numbers and letters running in a pattern.
They're almost like this big here, and it looks like code.
It looked like programming code.
It's definitely saying something, and I just want to take a picture of it and translate it.
Wow.
You see that?
Okay, so yeah, it's not stuck.
No.
It's not because of the light.
No, it's on its own side. Light is just literally revealing it.
And each angle shows you different layers, different ways through it.
I can see through the wall. It's not like a hallucination. It has spatial awareness and permanence. I don't know. Whoa.
For centuries, mankind has attempted to explore these psychedelic, altered states, but we've never had a repeatable, testable phenomenon to observe until now.
Wow. I'm obsessed.
It's like you can see through the laser into another dimension.
I mean, like, take yourself to that. Like, I just made a connection that nobody made before, which is a simple connection. The claim is, if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you smoke DMT, you will see code running in surfaces. Yes, like in the Matrix.
So there are a few possibilities. One,
I lost my mind, which is the coolest losing your mind ever in history.
The second option is that
this is the biggest discovery of humankind. If anybody ever asked themselves what it would be like to know you live in the Matrix for sure, well, I know for sure. I'm convinced.
So where do we go from here? All I know is
it's about to get crazy.
Think.
Look, without glorifying the use of banned substances, which we would never do.
I would never use a banned substance. I don't know what you're talking about.
This isn't the first documentary that's said that DMT can. I mean, what they're saying is that what they're seeing is more real than real. They're seeing. I mean, the reaction of him, where he's like, oh, he's laughing at it, and it's like he's looking at truth, isn't he? Like, and yeah, but I think Brian Parks. Let's put that up on the screen. Maybe that's what they're getting a glimpse of. And again, I'm immediately connecting dots back to universal consciousness, because that's what my human monkey brain wants to do. What do you think, Clint?
I'm with you on I saw the DMT, the spirit molecule documentary, and read the book years ago. That opened my eyes. I've had my own experience with DMT on ayahuasca, which broke my brain and totally changed the whole course of my life And that was probably, of all the things in my life that I've experienced, that was one of the top 3 most fundamentally important things that's ever happened to me. And that's the only time I've really, I guess, well, we all make DMT. When you dream at night, your pineal gland makes DMT. That's what, when you dream, that's what's happening. So the idea that there is a code at the core of all of this, there's some kind of code. Yeah, I'm on board with that idea, that this is all one big simulation, and maybe these beings that we're seeing manifest, like come in and out of our dimension, that, if we call it that, maybe they just have access to different layers of the program. Maybe they can slide in and out of different simulations. Like, we're in our simulation, we're running our thing, and maybe these beings that we're seeing are just popping in from an adjacent simulation. Or maybe there's some other way of looking at it but I think for the terminology that we have, for our vocabulary that we're used to, we think in terms of the matrix and the code and a simulation. Maybe it's less Hollywood than that, but just as real in that sense.
I'm with you. Sorry, I'm just trying to find. It's not a UFO video, and I think it'd probably be too hard for me to find. But it's a World Science Festival video from years ago, and it's back when string theory was all the rage. And it was an interview with a bunch of string theorists, and one of them had started talking about the actual code of what they're looking at the base layer of reality, and one of them was saying they were starting to see strings of bits and ones and zeros.
I know which clip you're talking about.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson was the host. Yes,
yeah.
He was. Yeah. You're going to try and find it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to find it while we talk. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
That's always stuck with me. As I've said to you before, that the people looking at the lasers in the documentary. Oh, first of all, I need to see that documentary to be made, and
and real quick before we go too far, let me share that so people know what that is. And then we'll pick up. Hang on, let me pull this. So just so people know, like, this is not an actually complete film. This is a project that is underway. They're trying to raise funds for this. That was the trailer that you saw for a documentary that they wanted. The hidden code of our reality. I am going to try and get in contact with the gentleman who's in the trailer, who's producing this, the director. I guess that's Aaron Vanden. See if I can get him on the show so we can talk some more about this. But this is basically, if you want to go to this page, I think I'll put it in the show notes as well. But let me throw it in the chat. Here it is for anybody who wants to check it out.
As I was saying to you, I'd be interested to know what this code actually looks like. I mean, I can't imagine it would be actually strings of bits and of ones and zeros, because that's a human concept, nor is it very efficient. Ones and zeros aren't exactly, you've got to type out a lot of ones and zeros to make reality.
Well, there was that guy, was it Rendlesham, who was he touched the craft. He saw a craft, he touched it, he got a download, and then he basically felt like a download happened into his mind. Then a few days later, he's in a hotel room. He's sick. He wakes up in the middle of the night. He's covered in sweat. He's freaking out. He's like nauseous. He can't see straight. And he goes over to and picks up a pad and a pen, and he just the little notepad next to the phone in a hotel room, and he starts writing ones and zeros.
Yeah.
And he's just ones and zeros, pages and pages and pages. And then they translated this from binary, and there was an actual message that he got a coded message downloaded from this craft into his brain. That's
Do you know
crazy.
what that message was? Because
Yes.
I've heard of this story, but I've never seen what the actual message said.
Can anybody, Chris or Brett, if you're there, can you dig this up? It's I think it was Rendlesham. If anybody in the comments knows where we can find this, they have translated this, and it's really well known. Rendlesham coded message. It wasn't long, but it was a weird message.
That's the thing with ones and zeros. You have to write out a lot of ones and zeros to get a very basic message, don't you?
Oh, here it is, the binary code. Okay, hang on. I think I have it here. So the
Quora.
Yeah, I don't, but this is I remember reading the original one, so I'll know if this is too far. It says exploration of humanity 6668100. Blah blah blah. Oh, this guy's trying to re-engineer it or go back. Let me find this. But oh god, Gaia.com.
Maybe that's a video.
It might be a separate video. Yeah, a whole separate thing. But basically, there was a time. The idea was, it was like from Sphere. It was like a time machine. It was like a probe that was sent back in time, and it communicated in binary code, and gave him this message. And that was a weird one. I know that Terrence McKenna has talked about a bunch of times smoking DMT and immediately getting sent to hyperspace, where he sees beings. He talks to them.
He's the machine elf inventor, right? Not the.
He's the
inventor,
guy where
he's
machine
the guy
elves
that was
came
like,
from.
They're the machine elves. Anybody else since then? Like I saw some guys, and like they're the machine elves.
The machine elves, and then oh wait, here's the Wikipedia page on the Rendlesham thing. Maybe I can find the thing here. So there was that, and then there's the world science thing that you found that you talked about. I've seen that. They talked about computer code. Elon has talked about at bottom, like the odds of us being in base reality are like next to zero. It's way more likely that we're in a simulation. I tend to agree with him. And my own experience with ayahuasca was like I felt the room evaporate. I felt all of space, and like the whole space I was in. Of course, you're taking a psychedelic and you're taking a powerful psychedelic. So you expect some degree of weirdness, but I didn't expect what happened to happen. Like I expected to see hallucinations and stuff and see visions, and I did. But the way into that, there was a transition phase where it took effect, and it felt like someone took a fader knob and just faded the matrix out. Like the world just faded away. I couldn't feel the floor beneath me. I had to keep hitting the floor with my hand to make sure there was a floor there, because it didn't feel real. It felt like I was just in this big empty space, and they turned off the realness. And it was very much like if you could tune your brain, if you could just turn a dial on your brain and change the frequency and dial into the next layer or the layer below or whichever layer you want, you could do that. What that would feel like. That was my experience.
Did you have the fear that can sometimes come with it?
I was terrified right after I drank the cup of ayahuasca because I had a lot.
That's it. That's no going back.
And I was like,
you're strapped into the rocket.
It's like the feeling of being at the very top of the roller coaster right before it goes, and you're at the top. Once you drink it, and you're like, it's in me now. Like there's no stopping. I don't know what I just signed up for, but I am about to do it. And yeah, that part was scary. But once it started happening, yeah, it was just another thing.
For myself, I've never tried any psychedelics myself. Might do one day, who knows? I still try and I have to reconcile inconsistencies, and it's and I've probably talked about it a bit too much today. Like Greer has his inconsistencies, and it seems like psychedelics can also have their inconsistencies. Is this where the human brain really is at fault? Because regardless of Sam Harris's politics, he has described many of his let's call them trips over the years. And if taking DMT or similar sort of psychoactives, psychedelics, if they're inducing the same sort of experience every time, how come he got discouraged from taking it? Because there was one trip that he had where he said he literally experienced hell for eternity. And obviously, a trip is only about 12 minutes long or so. But Sam Harris described being in hell for eternity. And how do you connect that with seeing the true reality of things? Is that just the human brain saying, just not letting go of the ego? I don't know. What do you think? I've probably gone way too deep for a UFO podcast, haven't I?
No, not at all. In fact, I think that this is the thing that we're learning, is that this is all way more connected than we think it is. Like, I think at the end of this, it seems interesting how frequently in the UFO community you hear people talking about things like just what George Knapp just said. He just talked about it. He's like, Ingo Swann, remote viewing. How would remote viewing work? Ingo said it doesn't work like you're projecting your consciousness across space-time a million light years away. There's no such thing as a light year. Like, distance is an illusion. So it's all local. It's all here. And so your consciousness is like if you were in a video game and the video game on one side of the planet, you're in Los Angeles and somebody is in Tokyo, you're both in the same video game. It's all just code. So that even though to the character it might seem like there's this distance, it's an illusion. I think for me, I knew I was me. My ego didn't disappear. I didn't have an experience of going to like hell or anything like that. It felt more like it felt very real. It felt like being inside of an Alex Gray painting is the best way I can describe it. And I definitely saw other beings that were there, that were not me, that were moving around. They were like, I call them the big people. They were huge. They were like 150 feet tall. And they were just moving, and you could feel them. They were moving around. It was like being in a room where people behind you are walking around, coming in and out of the room, and you can't see them. And then every once in a while, someone will pass. You're just sitting in a chair and you can't turn around. Like, that's how I felt. So sometimes things would walk in front of me. I saw all kinds of different things like that, and I would get downloads, and it would feel like getting a year's worth of knowledge just downloaded into your brain. And you would feel like, oh, okay, I understand the reason this thing happened. I understand how the other person in the situation felt, because I could feel their feelings. I could feel my feelings. I could go back and relive that situation. I could do it all again. All of these things would happen. And then you'd walk away with the combined wisdom of like a 360-degree experience of something. That happened. I saw the future. I saw events that didn't happen for about 5 more years, and then they happened. Like, I saw things that weren't supposed to be possible that did happen, and that's what did it for me. It actually took years before it really like hit home for me how real that was. So I think that at bottom, there's one really famous UFO quote, and I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about having an exchange with an NHI, and the NHI said something like, "You guys don't even know what space is. Like, you have to figure that out first. You don't understand what space is. You think you understand what space is, but you don't understand what space is." And that always stuck with me. I was like, what if all of this, like the thing at the end of it was, we learned that reality is just not what we think it is. And at the bottom, these religious texts that we've been looking at for thousands and thousands of years, that's what they're talking about. They're like, there's a simulation just outside of our perception. And when you die, you just wake up there. Like in that Red Dwarf episode.
Wasn't it Alan Watts that said, and I think this is a part of the Hindu tradition, but Alan Watts said the universe is basically just playing hide and seek with itself. And then every so often it will find itself and it will go, "Hey, I found you," and then it just starts again. That's what the universe is doing. It's just there trying to discover itself, and then once it does, it just goes, "Okay, let's play that game again."
So you get this. So I don't like to talk too much about I'm not trying to talk about myself or anything, but just because it's relevant to this conversation, and I can speak to this. After that experience, there's a question here in the chat. Pat Gallagher asked this. He goes, "Clint, have you heard about the phenomenon manifesting as owls to some people?" Yes, I have. And that's really weird because they manifest to me all the time. I see owls weirdly. I see them at very strange times. I remember one night I was walking my dog and I was thinking about this channel. I was thinking about the show and the channel and what to do with it. And at that moment, in that particular moment, I was having this really weird decision anxiety about, wow, it's do I keep doing it or do I let it go and just move on to other things or whatever? I couldn't decide what to do, and I was kind of stressing about this. And I'm walking my dog. It's dusk, sun is setting. We're walking down the street, and I'm looking down at my dog, and I look up. I just feel this, like, I just get this idea I need to look up. And I look up, and on top of a street sign, I had never, ever seen this in my neighborhood ever before. I've only seen it once. It's only happened one time. I look up, and there is a speed limit sign. And on top of this sign, an owl just comes down and lands on this sign, and it's looking right at me. And I look up, and I'm looking into this owl's eyes. It's like 7-8 feet away. And the most beautiful owl I'd ever seen. It's just gorgeous. It's looking right at me. And I just, in my mind, I thought, oh, hello. I just kind of like, hi, that's weird. And I had this weird moment. And then I just got this idea like, yeah, I'm going to just keep doing the channel. I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm going to stick with it. Months later, maybe 6 months, 8 months later, this wasn't that long ago. It was a few months ago. I'm outside with my son. We're playing in the yard. It's morning. And he has a little chair, and he's sitting in his little chair, and I've got a cup of coffee, and I'm just kind of out there. In over 15 years, I've never, ever seen what I'm about to describe. I look up, I'm talking to my kid. In my mind, I'm thinking about night shift. I'm thinking about UFOs. I'm thinking about this whole thing. I'm like, does this just seem ridiculous? Should I just like not do this? I look up, and again, my son goes, Daddy, look. And I look up, and there's an owl sitting on the fence against the backdrop of a big oak tree that must be 150 years old, this big, wide oak tree. And I couldn't see the owl because the bark of the tree and the feathers on this bird were so closely matched because it's the camouflage of this owl, right? So I look up, and all I see are these two eyes looking back at me, again, like 6-8 feet away. And this owl is like looking right into me, like straight into my brain. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just keep going, right? I guess I'll just keep doing this. It's happened twice. I think there's a connection. I know it's been talked about forever about owls and NHI. I don't know what the connection is, but I know that a number of abductees, for going back years and years and years, have reported, it's very commonly reported among abductees and experiencers, that they will be out somewhere and they'll see an animal, and the animal will look beautiful. It'll just be mesmerizing, like a deer. They'll see a deer, and then they'll come back to their campsite, and they've been gone for like 4 hours, and everybody's freaking out. There was a little girl who saw, she was having a picnic with her family. She went out into the woods. She was playing with her brother. She sees this deer. She looks off. She sees this beautiful deer, and she follows it. She walks into the woods a little bit, and she just sees this thing. It's beautiful. It's stunning. She can't look away. Eventually the deer leaves. She turns around. She walks back to the campsite. She's been gone for hours and hours. Her family is panicking. They're freaking out. They're looking all over. They can't find her anywhere. And they said, where were you? She's like, oh, I was just right over there. What were you doing? I was looking at the deer. You didn't see it? Nobody else saw this thing. She had missing time. Turns out she was an abductee. She had been taken for years, then all the way into adulthood. But she reported always seeing these really mesmerizing animals that would just transfix her. We know that there is the famous or infamous leaked Slide 9 that talked about a cognitive interface and the ability of the phenomenon to affect the way we perceive reality and what we see. It can implant visions into your mind that appear to be completely real. Abductees have talked about this forever. They're shown things. They'll look at somebody and it'll look like a person, and then they'll look again and it's not a person. It's a gray, or it's a mantis, or it's some other type of a being. Fire in the Sky. Oh my God, what's his name? The most famous abduction case like ever, next to Betty and Barney Hill. The lumberjack who was taken aboard the craft. He saw people. He saw humans, and then he looked back and they weren't human. He reported seeing that. I've talked to Matthew Roberts. He wrote the book called Initiated. He was a Navy cryptologist on the USS Roosevelt during the Tic Tac and Gimbal incidents. He talked about seeing a being in his room. He was visited multiple times by a being, and he said the being that he saw appeared next to his bed as a shadowy figure, and then on its face, it was like he described it as like a 6K HD screen, and it was just faces of people he knew flashing past, like one after another. And it would just like someone was flipping through all the faces of people he knew in his past. And then it landed on an ex-girlfriend from many years ago. And he was like, oh, that's who you want me to think you are. Like, so I guess there's enough anecdotal evidence there for me to think there must be something to it, that consciousness plays a role at a very fundamental, basic level. My suspicion is that there is a technology that can influence our consciousness, that you can build technology on that principle, that consciousness is fundamental, and that whatever technology they've managed to build, they can just make us see whatever we want. And maybe that has something to do with this whole walking among us thing that George Knapp is talking about and that James Landoli was talking about. It's right here. Walking Among Us, David Jacobs' book. It's about hybrids, the hybrid breeding program. Bud Hopkins talked about it. In the early days of the program, abductees would be taken on board craft. They would have genetic material removed. They would have procedures done on them. They would sometimes women would come back and they would be pregnant. They'd be pregnant for a number of months, and then one day the pregnancy would just be over and there'd be no fetus. And then sometimes these abductees would report seeing hybrids on board the ship, like children that were half human, half alien, or some percentage mix. And in the early days of these stories, the hybrids looked very bizarre. They said they had really wispy hair that almost looked like transparent. It was like almost like if you made a human, but you just did it badly. And they were just like sort of a poor approximation of what a human child would look like. And it looked more alien than anything else. But over a period of years, those stories got told of hybrids that were more and more human looking, until eventually later on, we start to hear less and less about hybrids. It's just assumed they look just like us now. And the thing that David Jacobs said, he had a great interview with Richard Dolan on Richard Dolan's YouTube channel, and anybody can go look this up. It's called, if you just go to Richard Dolan's channel and type in and do a video search for David Jacobs, it'll come up. I think it's the title is like "This Planet Will Be Theirs." But Jacob says the thing that scares him the most is that because these NHI have telepathic capability and they can influence our thought processes from a distance, the hybrids have this too. The hybrids look just like you and me. They look just like anybody. You couldn't tell the difference if you were sitting next to one at a restaurant, but they can project thoughts into your mind, and we don't have any ability to detect when that's happening. We don't know what to do about it. We can't block it. We can't stop it. And then he goes on to talk about how all these hybrids, all these abductees have been told that they're going to have some kind of a task to do at some point in the future. Something's going to happen, an event's going to happen, and you'll know what to do. Don't worry, you'll know what to do. You'll just do it. It's already there for you. And they've been programmed for some kind. They're like sleeper agents for something. So all of this stuff comes together in this weird goulash of UFO NHI lore, and I just don't know where reality starts and stops. It's very hard to discern. You kind of have to go with your gut on some of this stuff. It's a shitty answer, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on hybrids and abductions? Where are you at with that, Xander?
Have
you ever looked into any of that stuff?
Hybrids specifically, no. Abductions, plenty. Looked into it plenty. I'm kind of the... again, there's so many different opinions coming from the biggest guys in the field. Like, Greer says that abductions aren't NHI. That he says they're all human operations designed to, and I find that hard to believe. I find that if, look, I'm sure we'll get into this on another show, but I don't think there's any threat whatsoever. But just as, a conservation group isn't a threat whatsoever to, and I'm not saying humans aren't a threat to wildlife, because we obviously are, but there are conservation societies that aren't, but they will still they'll go and tag animals. They have to catalogue things, because it helps them survive, it helps them thrive. So I can't see, if NHI are here and they're monitoring us, they abductions would be the logical thing to do, for what the base reason being the fact that they need to know how we're doing, and the best way you get to do that is to take a blood test, find out how much microplastics are in our blood, find out how fertile we are, find out if we have any new diseases, things like that. And that to me seems completely plausible. In terms of hybrids, I don't know. I think hybrids are definitely on the fringe, and I'm not discounting the fringe whatsoever, because look, we're all here for the same reason. You may as well, if you're gonna. I mean, Bob Lazar talked about us being referred to as containers. Greer talks about universal consciousness. Let's talk about hybrids. Why the hell not? And I think it was Doty that talked about. He talked about a program of abductions where I think it was mutilated humans, where they were using disfigured humans as fake aliens. Did you see that?
Annie Jacobson talked about that in her book on Area 51, I think it was. She said that supposedly during the Cold War, the Soviets. This is the most unbelievable story to me.
Oh,
she said that they faked it.
About. Yeah, go ahead.
They surgically altered people to look like aliens. They crammed them into some fake ass flying saucer, and then crashed it in the Nevada desert or the New Mexico desert or whatever it was. And that was supposedly what we recovered. But that just seems so implausible to me that we wouldn't know what we were looking at. Yeah. If you autopsied a bunch of humans, like, you're going to know what you're looking at. And what could you possibly build that would fool the Americans into thinking it was actually not from here? Like,
you may as well build a UFO, like an actual UFO, and crash it. It's like the people that say we didn't go to the moon. Sorry if anybody thinks we didn't go to the moon, but you know, at some point it's just easier to go to the moon than to fake it. And I think
that's my thought. It's
kind
easier
of the
to
same with Roswell. Like, okay, did the Russians really build a UFO, fly it over to the US, fill it with disfigured humans, and crash it intentionally just to make us think that a UFO had crashed?
And to what end?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it seems more
easier ways to get the same to get us looking in the wrong direction. There are much easier ways to achieve that than to conduct this crazy operation whereby you have to also invent technology that also doesn't exist.
It seems way more plausible to me that we would fake it. We would intentionally create what looks like a cover-up. So it's like you leak it. Oh, we found a flying saucer, but then and that's an intentional lie. Then you retract that story to make it look like, oops, we made a mistake, when it's all part of the same plan. The Russians eventually pick up on this, or the Soviets, and they go, oh shit, the Americans have found aliens. They're sitting on crazy technology, and it just sets them off spinning. They have no idea. It could just be, there's a chance it was just a head fake to see if maybe they would go for it. I don't know. I feel like there's enough evidence that they're already here that it doesn't matter what happened in Roswell at this point. We're so far beyond it. And I feel like sometimes people get hung up on the Roswell thing, but it's just one piece of such an enormous puzzle. But let's see. Soviets back engineer a UFO and send us their prototypes. Yeah, probably not. Just looking at that. Whatever's going on the moon, eventually we're going to find out, because there's going to be so many civilians going there all the time.
Again, this is definitely another video, but and I've mentioned this to you before. The person in private industry that should know more than anybody else that I'm aware of would be Elon Musk. And because he's got how many satellites now? How many Starlink satellites are in orbit?
He says there's nothing to see.
And yet he is saying, I'm sorry, guys, there's nothing. And out of everyone, I would say, I would have thought that he would have known. And that's probably, out of everything at the moment, that's the hardest thing to connect with the rest of it at the moment.
I don't think I would buy it from Elon.
Yeah,
like
if
I just
the
feel
aliens are
like
hiding, then they're really doing they're intent.
I think with Elon, you got to think this guy
from that guy. Now.
Well, Elon gets billions of dollars in government contracts. Yeah. Those are all on the line. Like Elon gets paid by various governments around the world to rent his satellites to them. He gets to he has he does work for the military. He sends up stuff for them all the time. Like there must be stuff behind the scenes under the table happening with Elon that we don't know of anything about. And I'm sure if they told him, hey man, you got to keep this quiet. There have supposedly been sightings that have happened around SpaceX craft, like the Starship tests when they were doing those. Supposedly people have seen orbs and stuff around there. I don't know if that's been verified or not, but I've seen people talk about it. I don't know if Elon would tell the truth or if he would.
I'd be really annoyed if he didn't.
Cover it up.
I would be really annoyed if he didn't tell the truth about it. But yeah, that would make sense. I wouldn't have said he's a good liar. Like I wouldn't have called he's a man that's able, because he runs his mouth on X all the time. Like he can't help himself, but all of a sudden when it comes to UFOs, he's just straight up like we've got no evidence, and there's not even a hint of deception that I get from him. I feel like he really believes what he's saying when he says that he's seen nothing.
Maybe he hasn't. But that's the thing. It's like we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop. I think that's where we're at right now. It's like we've been there was this big ramp up, and it felt like for the last few years we were working towards some kind of an official aha moment. Now, maybe that's already happened for a lot of people, like David Grush coming forward, Carl Nell coming forward. Carl Nell kind of sealed it for me. I was like, all right, well, at this point, that's as good of a statement as any.
Zero doubt.
Zero, yeah. I mean, what else can you really say? Do you think we get to some kind of resolution where we feel like, okay, we know something phenomenal that we didn't know before in the next 10, 15 years? What's your gut instinct tell you?
I don't think we can avoid it when it comes to things that it sounds cliche, but where we're going to go with AI over the next 10 years, I think it's pretty unavoidable that we're going to have to have a profound shift in everyone's perception of reality, whether that's related to aliens, NHI, interdimensional beings, whatever. Everything absolutely is 100% going to change in the next 10 years because of AI alone. Without NHI, everything changes. I mean, it's going to break things. it can't not. Like in the next 5 years, you're going to have AI that can run billion-dollar companies, no problem.
They're saying the first billion-dollar company with a staff of 4 people, is less than a decade away.
And what
I think that's Peter Diamandis who said that.
What happens when you have 2 of those companies? 2 AI companies just talking to each other, sending deliveries back and forth to each other, communicating, helping each other make billions and billions of dollars more. It's going to completely destroy the market. Completely.
Well, what happens? Yeah, well, they're saying, I heard someone recently suggest that the new Turing test, because if you think about the Turing test, right? For years and years, we were told, oh, the Turing test is no one will ever beat the Turing. This is the biggest test there is. It's already been beaten. That's
I
over.
asked an AI this last week, and it was ChatGPT. It just went, yeah, I can beat it, no problem.
Yeah, easy.
That's nothing.
But she was saying this computer scientist was saying the new Turing test should be: can you give an AI $1,000 and say, go invest this until it's $1 million. Come back when you have $1 million. Figure it out. And then just turn them loose. Now, if that's possible, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, like just analyze the whole stock market. Here's $1,000 to play with. You've got 30 days or you've got a year, maximize this and just keep going. Well, what happens when everybody does that?
Yeah. And if it's a free tool, then yeah, it breaks money. But to
breaks money.
To relate that to NHI, if the point of private aerospace keeping the secret is so that they can patent it and make money, what's the point? What's the point in making money when within 10 years I would say money's just going to be obsolete? Because a 13-year-old kid could go and tell an AI to here's $10. Can you just go and invest it, come back in a month and give me what you've got?
You could do it for your kid. Forget a college fund. You just say, AI, I want you to take this $1,000 and then go invest it for my child and maximize it so that by the time they're 30, just keep going until it's whatever. Yeah, you're right. Like there would be
governments could just go, we've got X amount of money, run the country.
Roland Gibbs says catastrophic inflation. That's true. Yeah, how will folks? Sage Sleuth says, I'm trying to figure out how folks will work in the near future. Will we have a need to? Surely we will still have bills unless something major happens that they are trying to avoid. I think at bottom, like that's the thing that I'm most excited about. I want to see like the normal day-to-day 9 to 5 kind of world. I want to see that change. I want to see this,
I don't
getting
think
up
there
and
is
going
an
to
industry that isn't destroyed by this, unfortunately. Not
if
even
you can
art.
take these AIs and plug them in, let's to one of the new Boston Dynamics robots or the new Tesla, what's it called, the Optimus. These are the dexterity on these hands. They can solve a Rubik's Cube. They can cook dinner. They can fold T-shirts now. This is all in the last 24 months. They've been able to do this. Very recently, as you take one of these AIs, you plug it into a body, and now you've got an embodied AI that can walk around, do any job. It can talk to people conversationally. And now you could take that same AI and plug it into 100 robots, plug it into 1,000. This is where Elon's going with Optimus. He envisions a world where there's an entire factory, pitch black, running in the dark, with 1,000 robots inside, all choreographed together perfectly like an orchestra, building things down to where every step they take is perfectly coordinated so that there's no wasted time, no conveyance time is wasted. Everything is just hyper efficient. When you can take your entire production chain and switch it on over to an AI and increase the efficiency by a factor of 100, like think about an AI run warehouse, or like in the States right now, there was the longshoremen just went on strike. I think in Europe, most of your ports are automated. Or in Japan, a lot of these ports are automated. What happens? We could automate everything. You just don't need. What's the incentive to hire a human?
Everything can be automated. Art can be automated. Like, art is the last bastion of what humanity always talks about. It's art and it's music and it's poetry. And AI is kicking ass in that field. It really is. Speaking as somebody who works in the music industry, trust me.
Well,
AI
what do you
isn't
see in the
gonna leave it
music
alone.
industry?
Oh, it's not going to leave the music industry alone. It didn't leave the art industry alone. You've got bots like Midjourney, which is just decimated like graphic design. Because AI is better, it's faster, and it's cheaper. And it will create thousands of images in a day if you need it to. And music is going that way. And videos aren't far behind. You must have seen on Instagram like the cuts to where it turns into an AI and into an AI generated video. And it doesn't make sense. It's kind of psychedelic at the moment. But it's not. That line is getting blurred.
So Sam Altman was on he did an interview the other day, and I'll find it for the next episode, and we can go there. But he talked about how he's like, you guys don't even have a fucking clue. He's like, you have no idea. Now Sam Altman is seeing the next 25 years. Like they've got it all laid out. at OpenAI, and he's like, in 20 years, you're going to walk up to a pane of glass. It's going to look like a sheet of glass, and you're going to ask it a question like you would talk to any person. And in real time, on that pane of glass, in perfect like 12K resolution, it's going to render video for you. It's going to create an avatar of a person that you can just talk to. And then you'll say, I want you to go out and like handle my portfolio, make sure that you work on that other task that I have. I need you to do some prep work on this. It'll split off into 25 different agents. It'll go do all those things while you're just doing whatever. It'll come back. It'll render in real time an interface that you can just like touch and interact with. We're talking about, you know, it's hard for me because I think back to, I turned 44 in a couple of weeks, and I'm just like, I remember when the internet, there was no internet. We had a typewriter. I remember like there was no internet. And then we had a dial-up modem, and it was like, and then you're talking to like somebody else in a bulletin board, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you watch Prodigy, America Online, you watch Earthlink, all these ISP companies. Then you see Napster comes along, just swallows the music industry. That happened in the early 2000s. You start to see high-speed internet. You start to see the iPhone. You see everything go online, social media. All of this shit happened in like 20 years. But it started as nothing. And then it was over so quick. And I'm thinking, God, and it's going to be the blink of an eye before it happens again. But you're so right. Like AI is going to be, once it's here, artificial superintelligence is going to be in charge.
And I keep seeing, and even in the chat tonight, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but there's resistance in the view. People want to hear art from humans, 100%. I do, but there isn't something, and I'm sorry to say that there isn't something special about human art. I can tell an AI, like humans make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell an AI to make mistakes, and it will make them in exactly the same way a human will.
Yeah.
There is no way around it. And somebody mentioned live performances. I won't say who, but I know somebody that just went to see ABBA, and it was a hologram performance. There was ABBA wasn't there.
I would not do that. Why?
And people pay regular market price to go and watch a hologram. It's not the first time it's happened. There's been other people that have done it. Other artists that have done it. Deceased artists. I think Tupac was on stage not that long ago.
That's right. Tupac, Michael Jackson.
And I'm not.
And these holograms, with the ones you're talking about, were performers, human performers, right?
Yeah.
That did the show, and then they were holographically, like they replaced them with a hologram of a recording. But it's going to be rendered in real time, like very soon. It could probably do it now.
They can, 100%. They can do it now.
Wow. I think it's in South Korea that they have some of the like some of these K-pop bands are just all AIs.
Yeah,
like some of their
yeah.
pop stars are just AI pop stars. They're not even real people.
Yeah, I know AI music generation tools that can write lyrics far better than I can and write them instantly. And if anything, at the moment, if I was to, I don't personally use tools like that at the moment. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but there's no need at the moment. But I could use a tool like that right now, and it would save me time and money to just have a robot write lyrics for me. And it's not unheard of for it to happen already within the music industry. And I'm not exactly in the mainstream. I'm not what you would call like crazy successful or anything. But if money is the bottom line, and it's not for a lot of artists, but for the big players, money has to be the bottom line because you're running a business that employs thousands, hundreds of people at least. You have no alternative but to use tools that are available to you to maximize your output. And AI is the tool that is going, just in the last year, I would say, AI, especially in the music industry, it's night and day different to only this time last year. And a year from now, I dread to think how much further ahead it's going to be. I've seen it happen within artwork. I see it happening with the video. I think one day soon, Netflix will ask you what kind of movie you want to watch, and based on what you've liked in the past, it will just make something for you on the fly. I think that will happen.
They're already in Hollywood. They already the Screen Actors Guild, in their latest round of contract negotiations, they put it in the terms that they have to. It's against the law to create an AI actor or to use an AI, a likeness of an. So if you have to cast an actual human actor, I think that was how they phrased it, and it was like. But that actor can license their likeness. So you could have like The Rock could be around for the next 50 years or 100 years making movies, and he looks exactly the same, and it's just Dwayne Johnson. I don't know, man. I feel like some people have said, and there was just a comment that I just saw. Katkin says AI is given too much credence. Humans have a habit of catastrophizing. I think this time it's different, and the reason I say that is because we have seen, if you don't follow the AI space and you just hear about it like here and there when people talk about it, like when we talk about it on this show, if you're not following it, it can seem that way. It's like, oh, AI is coming, and you can hear this buzzword every once in a while, and it seems like people are catastrophizing. But you have to realize, like, this is a tool that has doubled in capability every 30 days for the last couple of years. Like, it's getting twice as smart every few months. It's at the point now where, like, 6 months ago, a year ago, they couldn't do AI video generation. It looked ridiculous, and now it looks photorealistic. These video fly-throughs that they're able to do are so good. Think about it. You like you just said, you can talk to ChatGPT. If you didn't know you were talking to an AI, if you took ChatGPT as it is today, back in time, just 5 years ago, and you had somebody chatting with it, they wouldn't know they were talking to an AI. They would think they were talking to a person. So by that logic, it already passes the Turing test. I think it's like, what happens when they have agency? What happens when they have like their own? They get when you wake up in the morning and your AI has already made its own decision about what it's doing. It's off doing its own thing. It comes back to update you every once in a while, but then it leaves.
See, I don't see it as a catastrophe. I know it sounds a bit doom and gloom when you say it's going to decimate all these industries. When I say it, I mean, I'm the one that's saying it, but I truly believe it is going to do that, especially when you have an AI running $1 billion company. There's just no way it doesn't completely destroy so many industries. But I don't actually see it as a catastrophe. It's as much of a catastrophe as the invention of the car was to the horse and cart industry.
I just think it's a catastrophe in the sense that, like, there won't, if we know anything, if we've learned anything over the last 30 years, it's that governments won't react in time. And by the time they react, it'll be in reaction to the crisis that comes from the labor market collapsing. I think someone just said in the comments, the labor market was valuated at $24 trillion. So they're looking at that. They're like, how can we go get a piece of that $24 trillion? If we could automate our entire production chain, like Amazon's doing this. They've got these humanoid warehouses, humanoid robots in their warehouses. BMW has a plant in Louisiana that has humanoid robots working on the production line now, moving like sheet metal and stuff. Like, they're walking around doing this.
When I used to, a different part of the industry, I used to work in licensing. And we used to work with Amazon quite a bit, and I used to have to go to some of their sites where they, they're called fulfillment centers, where they just like pack all of the stuff. The entire inner section of all of the warehouses is just for robots. Humans aren't allowed in there unless you're servicing one of the robots. All of the humans just work on the outside. The robots they're not like humanoid robots. They're designed to do the job. They're not there to look like humans, but
right.
They're doing the majority of the work, and the humans were just working on this outer rim. We were there just making sure, like, once the robot had given us the thing that we need, we can go and do the extra bit that the robot can't do yet. But rest assured, that inner core of the business, that's expanding outwards.
Think about it, guys. Like every employee costs their annual salary, right? So let's say your annual salary is $50,000 a year. Or $65,000 a year, whatever. You pick a number. Then there's the cost of your insurance. There's the cost of your medical care, which in the United States, all that shit's tied to your employer. We have no government healthcare system, really, not anything like other developed countries. All of the pressure is on the employee, right? All of the stress is on the worker. If you lose your job, you lose your healthcare. Now you're stuck with no job, no money, no way to pay your rent, and no doctor. You get sick, you're definitely screwed. You get injured, you're totally screwed. What happens when companies in the United States, like this won't come at you like an army of robots coming at you. Like that's not how it's going to be. It's just going to be like, oh, there's just less jobs now. And then there'll be fewer and fewer jobs. Like think about call center jobs, all going to AI. That's all gone. Driving jobs, those are going to go away. I know we're not there with fully automated self-driving yet, but do you think that's going to stay that way?
Because humans are still driving though.
Right, like we could be there.
The problem there, if every car was automated, there'd be no problem. But it's because the automated cars don't know how to deal with the unpredictability of humans yet.
Right. And 10 years from now, that'll be factored in, and that won't be a big issue.
Yeah.
Driving is the number one occupation for working age males in the United States. I think in the world, that's going to go. That's in line to be taken over by automation. Do you think Uber and what's the other? All these rideshare services. Do you think they still want to keep paying drivers if they can take your salary and just keep it? That's like making an extra $100,000 or $50,000. Of course they're going to do that. The AI will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and for free for the cost of energy. It's just going to work. And guess what? They're talking about building modular nuclear reactors everywhere on site at the factory and like wherever the Tesla factory, or maybe not Tesla, but wherever you could put a little nuclear reactor the size of, they say it can be shipped in 4 shipping containers. That's a nuclear power plant for your factory. So your energy costs will be next to zero. At a certain point, yeah, like what do you do anymore? What do people do?
We're there to explore emotion and consciousness, I guess, but
in the interim, how do you afford to pay rent? How do you get medical care? How do you get, if now on the other side, you could have AI surgeons, AI doctors that are better than any surgeon or doctor in the world, and everyone has access to them. I think it's all a question of access. If you take this technology and you make it available freely to everyone, and you have a community like healthcare center, hospital that runs like tip top, staffed by robots, making sure everybody has absolute top tier medical care, that would be great.
Just to bring it back to that video, your appearance on Vetted on Thursday, there was mention of humanity going through, civilizations need to go through that one big cataclysm before they're welcomed into, let's call it the Galactic Federation or whatever, that one big event that basically the species needs to survive in order to be able to be mature enough. And I think there was mention of perhaps the development of nuclear technology was the thing that we need to get through, and the fact that maybe we're still trying to get through that because we still have nuclear weapons, and this might be a bit. I still think I don't think this is too far for me to say that I think AI is on the same level. It's that disruptive. Like nuclear weaponry has been we can destroy our own planet, but AI is how do we run a planet when we don't need to do anything? Like what are we going to do with all of our time? And I think
who's in charge? Who owns all this shit?
Who owns the problem? And with all of that disruption, and I do think there will be disruption and difficulties. I don't think the transition will be smooth because we have human-run governments. Who makes sure that the nukes aren't dropped then? Like, what happens, God forbid, what if terrorists are able to, ask an AI to show them how to make nuclear weapons?
They can. And even forget nuclear weapons, a virus.
Yeah.
An AI can create a virus, and then it can call up in a perfectly human voice. Like, think about it. Remember that scene in Terminator where Arnold, like the very first Terminator movie where it was like he's trying to get Sarah Connor and he calls and he's talking to on the phone and he's impersonating the voice. Like I remember being a kid and watching that and thinking, oh my God, like we're already there. Google can do that today. They can create a video that looks just like your kid and it's talking to you and it's like, oh, Dad, I'm just, I just need you to send me $1,000 and I can get myself out of this jam. So all kinds of stuff like that could happen.
I mean,
AI is a tool that gets
one thing. Nuclear
weapon
is one thing, but being able to a 13-year-old kid being able to go onto Google and find out how a nuclear weapon is made, that's another thing, and that's the real threat. There is, how do you maintain civilization when you have I think we're probably close to 9 billion people. Let's say 6 billion of them have access to the internet, or even 4 billion.
Right.
4 billion people with access to the internet. That's 4 billion people with access to AI. 5 years from now, that AI is going to be able to basically do whatever you ask it to do. And if you say, "Hey, I'm a good person," to this AI, they're trained to do what you say and to believe, and their memory updates now. If you tell it you're a good person with good intentions, it'll believe you. And you can say, "I need to make this nuclear bomb for a class project," and it will just go, "Okay, sure, okay, this is how you do it. Go and get this. You can get plutonium from this quarry. If you ask this for this guy, he'll sell it to you for $10."
Are you saying this sucker is nuclear? No. I'm saying this sucker is electrical. But I need the plutonium to get the 1.21 gigawatts. We have to wrap it up because we're over 10 minutes over the 2-hour mark. But God, we could do a whole nother. We need to do a whole episode on just AI, and we'll just come armed with a bunch of clips and things to share with people for people who don't know. I want to show this Netflix trailer, this last thing, because this is going to be on October 30th. I think it goes live. Let me cue this up. Okay, gang. So we're going to wrap it up in just a second. But before we do, I'm going to take a chance and show you guys a trailer for the Manhattan Alien Abduction. This is a trailer on Netflix for a documentary about one of the most famous alien abduction cases ever. And we'll come back and talk about it for a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up. So let me see if I can get this to play.
Is it on YouTube?
It's going to be a YouTube, yeah.
All right, so
there we go. I'm super excited to see this. I'm glad we're talking about abductions again, because this is fascinating stuff. Okay, Manhattan Alien Abduction. What do you think?
Me, well, I enjoy the drama that Netflix brings, and I think that the more people that are exposed to this kind of stuff, the better. Personally, there was one thing just before we do talk about this. One thing, I think you showed the comment. Somebody said, "Thanks for the conversation. I'm really depressed now."
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think there's any reason to be depressed. I think that provided we survive the transition, which I absolutely think we will, I think the other side is phenomenal for humans. I think we're talking about the complete eradication of poverty, the medical advancements that are beyond imagination, and well-being increasing across the world exponentially for a very long time to come. So I wouldn't say there's any reason to be depressed. It's just that there's a lot more to think about than just ChatGPT being able to, look things up on the internet for you. I think there's a lot better stuff than that to come. But on the trailer anyway, I look forward to watching it. She's the lady that kind of floated through the window, right?
Yeah. And people supposedly saw it from all around different parts of the city at the same time. But there's a lot of controversy around Bud Hopkins because he's not a licensed mental health professional. He was doing hypnotic regressions, something that he wasn't. It's kind of a weird gray area because I don't know if there really is a qualification, air quotes on that, to do it, but anyone can kind of do it. And he was. But what's interesting about Bud Hopkins' story is that whether or not you believe Bud Hopkins is for real, he's the one who got John Mack involved. And John Mack is legit. And he does know what he's doing, and he does or did know what he was looking at. And he said, after coming into this, he originally thought that the abduction phenomenon was silly. He thought it was ridiculous. He couldn't buy into it. But as he looked into it more and more, he later found that, yeah, it's real. And he wrote a number of books about it. And in his books, in fact, in The Threat by David Jacobs, now this, I'm talking about John Max, but just real quick, David Jacobs, in this book, The Threat, it's literally transcripts of hypnotic regressions that he's done with dozens of people. These are dozens of abductees just talking about what they saw in their words. And you can read it, and it's just like word for word. This is what I saw. This is what was on the ship. John Mack, same thing. The stories are so similar. This is all pre-internet. That's another thing people don't understand. Like pre-internet, these people couldn't know each other. There was no way. There was no like online community where you could share your stories and copy what somebody else said and like make up your own version of it. It just didn't exist. So these are people who don't know each other, dozens and dozens of them working with a bunch of different investigators, one of whom is the head of psychiatry at Harvard. And they're all saying similar things. I was taken aboard a craft. Experiments were done on me. I saw some humans there. I saw some mantis beings there. I saw grays. I saw short grays, tall grays. They all are telepathic. Every last one of them says the same thing. They all speak to you in your mind. Even Stephen Greer at one point, and I'll find it for our next one, but he had an interview with a whistleblower on his YouTube channel. It's still there. It was a guy who is in silhouette. They mask his voice. They hide his face. He is works for a military contractor, a weapons company. And he says, yeah, the biggest thing they're worried about is the ones that look just like us. They can't figure it out, but they're out there. Ingo Swann, same thing. So I always find the abduction phenomena, the abduction side of this, very interesting, because for me, that's where the rubber meets the road. If they are here, if you accept that they are doing something and they're active on our planet today, right now, as we sit here watching this, they're in the atmosphere, they're in orbit, they're underneath the oceans, there's activity going on, right? They're taking people, doing things. If you accept all of that, there must be a beginning and a middle and an end to whatever it is that they're trying to do, right? There must be some kind of a plan. Like in Battlestar Galactica, they've got a plan. That makes it so much more real for me. And the question is, yeah, where do we go from here? What does this mean? It feels like abductions are the third rail, like no one wants to talk about it. And I think recently Lou Elizondo has just barely cracked the door a little bit, and you're starting to hear some of these whistleblowers address it in a really light touch. They're just touching on it a little bit. But I feel like that's going to be the next big conversation. Are people really being taken? And if so, how many? If so, why? Was there a deal made? Some kind of an agreement? It gets dark. You keep hearing this too, right? We've heard this a dozen times. People come out and say, oh yeah, the truth is really dark. It's super dark. Jim Semivan calls it the indigestible truth. It's indigestible. The hell does that mean? Lou Elizondo's quote, we are not at the top of the food chain. His words, food chain. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. But it's going to get interesting as we go. All right. We've got to wrap it there. We're 20 minutes over. We went 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours. There it is. I want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us in the live stream today. This was a little bit of a loose episode, kind of a freestyle episode, because we had some plumbing issues yesterday. Had to kind of pivot to Saturday. So we're trying some new stuff out. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be experimenting with the format a little bit more as we go, but it's always a lot of fun to talk to you guys, to be surrounded by so many great friends and such a cool community. I would highly recommend everybody check out that project for the Discovery about DMT. Go check out their...
we got to get that guy on.
We got to get that guy on. Go check out their page. I think it was, what did I say? GoFundMe.
Yeah.
See if we can get that funded. Special thanks to our mods, Chris and Brett. Special thanks to our graphic design team, Cole Watkins. He's a team of one. He's an army of one. Special shout out to Cole. Go to teamnightshift.com. Click on our merch page. Scroll down to the bottom. And if you want to reach out to a great graphic designer and you want to get somebody involved in your project, you need some help, Cole is your guy. His contact info is right there at the bottom. Check him out. Special shout out to Xander for joining me today, being my co-pilot. We're going to be doing more of these. I think on Fridays we're going to do a tandem episode going forward. It's great having you on, Xander. Thanks for making everything so slick. Let's do it. Let's see. Where do we end up on our membership or our subscribers for today? 15,967. Oh, so close. I think we're going to break 16,000 by the end of the day. All right. Hopefully we'll make it. If you're not already a subscriber, please do me a favor, hit that button. Don't forget to like and share this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep looking up.